Hello, everyone. This is a little bit different, going live this time. I will wait for a few people to join in, but this is going to be a little bit of a different style live broadcast. If you've been on my live broadcast before, usually I'm exceptionally interactive, answering a lot of questions and things like that, and I love doing that. But I feel like the narrative of this needs to be a little bit different. I wanted to do this live broadcast to sort of rapid fire answer common intermittent fasting questions that have been coming through. And the reason I want to do this is I know right now people are really pressed for time. Like they just want quick little bits and little answers. They don't always have time to watch 20 videos to get 20 answers to their intermittent fasting questions. So I figured this would be kind of fun. Before I do dive into these, I do want to say hello to everyone. If you can, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to comment where you're watching from. Even if I don't shout you out, I recognize you're here, and I love the fact that you're here. So without further ado, I am going to jump right in. I know some people aren't subscribed to my channel, so if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications. I've got the 20 questions pulled up in front of me, so if I glance at the screen now and then, that's why I've just got 20 questions. And I'm going to totally do this off the cuff. These aren't things that I have rehearsed or anything like that. Figure these are organic answers, not going to be filled with tons and tons of research. It's just going to be point blank. I'm not going to get you the crazy nerd facts. Anyhow, by the way, awesome to see so many people here. Awesome to see just a big group of people already. Hope everyone's staying safe and all that. All right. So first question that comes up a lot. Okay, is there a difference between fasting and time-restricted feeding? What is the difference between fasting and time-restricted feeding? Okay, so fasting, at the end of the day, it really is still time-restricted feeding. The biggest difference is time-restricted feeding is usually smaller fasting periods, and it's more so just consolidating your eating to a specific 12-hour period or a 10-hour period. But for all intents and purposes, when you hear people talk about time-restricted feeding or time-restricted eating versus intermittent fasting, they are ultimately one and the same. One is just taking a look at the eating window, and one is looking at the fasting window. Arguably, time-restricted feeding looks at the benefits that are coming into your body during the time in which you're eating, whereas intermittent fasting looks more at the benefits that are happening to your body during the time of fasting. So it's really just semantics, to be honest. It's just kind of switching up the verbiage there. Okay, the next question that's very common. Do the benefits of fasting come from simply eating less? It's a tough one to answer, but the short answer is no. It is not just from eating less. Now, if you watch enough of my videos, then you know that I'm very, very big on talking about every little idiosyncrasy, every little bit of information, every little bit of benefit, right? And the reality is a lot more of what happens to your body through fasting that's positive has to do with hormonal changes and has to do with what's called AMPK pathways when your body is specifically deprived of a specific nutrient for a period of time. So it's less about the caloric restriction and more about the secondary impact that has a cascading effect on the body, okay? Now, that being said, the caloric restriction is still a very, very, very good positive thing. It's just not the benefit. So we see a lot of people saying that intermittent fasting, the benefit is largely coming because you're just not eating as much. Well, that really is a benefit in some ways, but it's not the main benefit. It's not what we're after. Okay, and that's exactly why I generally say not to fast every single day, which is a common question that comes up. We have a lot of people on this broadcast. This is really outstanding. Guys, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, please. That does help us out a whole lot. Okay, I'm going to move right along. Everyone, you guys are freaking awesome. I love that you're all here and that you're all already asking questions. Okay, next question. What are the different types and lengths of fasting, and what would be the ideal length for someone just starting out or for someone advanced? Okay, first off, there is a 12-hour on, 12-hour off, a 12-12 fast. I always think that for someone just starting, although a lot of people would say that that's not even really fasting, that is the way to start. Okay, start out doing 12 hours. Okay, the different other kinds of fasting that you would do, 16-hour fast is the most common, 16-8. Those of you that are watching my channel, this might seem very, very embryonic, very entry level, but hear me out on this. Okay, the 16-hour fast is a great way to start because it's largely just skipping breakfast. Very, very simple. Okay, then when we kind of progress, the next kind of fast that you could do would be an 18 or a 20-hour fast. Different benefits come from each. Let me just break this down. 12-hour fast, you're getting the benefits of still reduced insulin levels. You're still getting the benefit of some AMPK activation. You're still getting a huge amount of fat mobilization. You're still getting a big hormonal response. 16-hour fast, you're getting lower insulin levels, so even more of a potential fat loss result. Okay, you're getting more in that AMPK activation. You're getting more in the growth hormone response. Okay, so benefits start to trickle in. Hear me out because it has a tipping point. I'm going to skip ahead to 24-hour fast. Okay, 20-hour fast, you start getting more benefits. Why? Because there's some research that does show that after 16 hours is when you really start to get the deeper benefits. More ketone production. It's when you start to go through what's called gluconeogenesis more, so you start activating different cellular pathways. So after 16 hours is really the sweet spot. So my favorite length fast generally is a 20-hour fast, but you have to work up to it. Okay, 24-hour fast is obviously a great one too. Okay, then you start getting more benefits, more hormonal benefits, more ketone benefits. You start getting secondary, dare I say, healing effects, okay, at 24 hours. 28 hours, something magical kind of happens. 28 hours, your body no longer is demanding glucose for the brain. So well, it still is, but not as much. So you're running on ketones a lot more, which means that your glucose levels in your blood tend to go down after 28 hours. So what that means is after 28 hours, you're really going into much more of a lifestyle kind of fasting. I shouldn't say lifestyle, excuse me, totally wrong there. Not lifestyle, more of a life-altering health benefit fast. Okay, so 28 hours is like that tipping point. At that point, you're fasting more for a health benefit versus fat loss, because fat loss can even slow down a little bit after that 28-hour mark. So again, sweet spot, 20 hours, beginning, start at 12, start at 14. I usually recommend people just get used to it with that, just being strict for a little while. Okay, you guys are awesome. Wow, this has really grown. We've got a lot of people here, almost 1,000 people. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, everybody. That does help us out a whole lot. Okay, and I know I'm kind of talking a little bit quiet. I'm in my downstairs little home studio. You probably see me do a few videos. Amber's upstairs literally putting Tommy down for a nap. So we might hear him throw a fit here in just a minute because he's going to nap strike as always. Okay, question number 4. Based on how long I like to fast, how often should I fast per month? Ooh, that's a tremendous question. Okay, and that question has a multifaceted answer. The reality is, I don't like to fast more than 15 days out of the month. Okay, so I don't like to fast more than every other day. Now, does that mean that fasting more than every other day is bad or detrimental? I don't think it's detrimental, but you have a different benefit. Okay, the benefit of fasting frequently is that, yeah, you're consistently eating less calories, you're consistently having less, let's call it a carbon footprint on your body, but as I've said in many videos, one could argue that you're losing the potency of the fast because your body's just getting adjusted to fasting. You need to be able to keep your body sort of guessing and have a little bit of a shock. Once again, to sound like a broken record, most of the research indicates that the benefits of intermittent fasting are as a result of spontaneous and sporadic caloric reduction, indicating that when our bodies are accustomed to a higher caloric level and then have a random drop, we get a lot more benefit. So let's not erase that. So I say 50% of the month, if you're fasting, great. Okay, if you start going above that, then that means that becomes the majority of your diet. I hope that makes sense to everybody. And I know we've got some tremendous questions coming in, and I wish that this was the kind of broadcast where I was just answering those. But based on a lot of feedback from people really wanted me to do some live, just answering questions, compiling questions, and answering them so that they could see me in the flesh, see me raw, not scripted, no notes, nothing, just talking off the cuff, so you know it's real, okay? Anyway, number 5 says, what if I'm getting hungry during my fast? What is the best way to manage hunger? One of my favorite ways to manage hunger, and some people say that it breaks a fast, is going to be apple cider vinegar. And it's not because it's a miracle compound that's going to do all this stuff. I mean, I will say it's pretty awesome stuff, but when it comes down to blood sugar management, it has a big effect. And a lot of times what ends up happening is your body's just on a roller coaster ride when you're adjusting to fasting. So your blood sugar is kind of like, whoa, and your body's trying to stabilize, trying to find what's going on. The nice thing about apple cider vinegar is that is the big thing that it can do. It does help with blood sugar stabilization. So that's one of the main things that I would recommend. Another thing, usually I'm sipping on green tea. I'm sipping on some black tea today. Actually, straight up black tea. Super easy. Green tea is usually my go-to, but I just felt like switching it up. It's amazing what a little bit of caffeine does. You don't, and the nice thing about having some tea or something like that is you're just getting kind of this little flow of caffeine. You're not jolting yourself. Another thing that you can do is, quite honestly, go for a walk, because once you start going for a walk and you get moving, you're getting ketone formation. Okay, you're getting these ketones formed because you're getting mobilization. Again, mobilization of blood, mobilization of the fatty acids, all this stuff is going to regulate within the brain that you're not as hungry. I know it's generic, and of course, I could go super deep, but I'm not doing that in today's video. I'm just giving answers. Okay. Someone says, how is fasting going to affect, or number 6 says, sorry, how is fasting going to affect my blood sugar, both during and after practicing fasting for a while? That's a very good question. It kind of piggybacks off of what I was just talking about. I'm not a doctor, so I have to be careful how I answer this. And you probably noticed me saying that a lot more lately. I'm being very careful because YouTube is starting to throttle a lot of content surrounding health misinformation and people trying to step in the lane of doctors and things like that. And I know we all have our opinions there. Let's not go there. Point is, I have to dance that line, right? So I'm not a doctor, so commenting on blood sugar and how this can affect it is still nebulous. But the point is, the research indicates that fasting long-term does bring down overall fasting plasma glucose levels. Okay, so it brings down your overall blood glucose, your blood sugar. Now, during your fast, you might find that your blood sugar goes up when you first start. This is somewhat normal. And again, it's a response for your body. It's called peripheral insulin resistance. What ends up happening is, as your body gets adapted to fasting, gets used to it, the cells within your body peripherally, they no longer need to use glucose as much because your body is sparing it for the brain. So they become more resilient and they say, well, I don't need glucose. I'm good at using fats. I'm good at using ketones. So the glucose is spared for the brain. Well, if it's not getting taken up by the cells in the body, it's going to go to the brain. Well, meanwhile, you have higher levels of blood sugar in the body. Does that mean that it's bad and unhealthy? No, it means you have peripheral insulin resistance and the cells in your body aren't accepting the glucose because they don't particularly need it. So it's not uncommon to see your blood glucose go high during a fast, but then it's going to come back down afterwards. And you'll notice that overall, your blood sugar generally comes down as you become more, as fasting becomes part of your lifestyle a little bit more. Stop for 1 second, just say hello. Wow, we've got over 1,000 people. This is what I'd love to see. I think this format is great, rapid fire, doing things like that. There's people watching this broadcast now going, shut up, Thomas, let's get on with the show. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep on rocking. All right. Number 7 question that came in. How does fasting affect your mood? A little bit of a newbie question, but obviously, again, everyone has to be respectful that we have people of all different categories on this broadcast, okay? Fasting will affect your mood in multiple ways. I remember the first few times that I fasted, I was expecting to feel this euphoric feeling that everyone talked about. I was expecting to feel like I was just invincible, but no, I felt like dog crap. I felt tired. I felt weak. I felt like it was wrong in every sense of the feeling. But then it took about 1 week before my body all of a sudden started to change, and it made a huge difference in my mood. That has to do with fat adaptation. So you're going to go through some carbohydrate withdrawals. You're going to go through some withdrawals, which is going to affect your mood negatively. But once fasting becomes more integrated into your life, it's very, very, very quick that you start to feel the mental benefits. Now, think of it like this from an evolutionary standpoint, okay? What is our major survival weapon as humans? Just think about it for a second. It's not our brawn. There's plenty of animals out there that have more brawn than us, right? If we are in a survival situation and we are starving, we are hungry, our best chance of being able to survive is using our brains because we are smart. So we have the ability to craft tools or to trap or to hunt or to gather or whatever in a strategic, smart way. So it makes sense that the brain would do whatever it can to prioritize, or the body would do whatever it can to prioritize energy for the brain. Consequently, we get this hyper sense of focus and hyper sense of energy in the brain. But one thing, and to this day, you will notice with fasting, and I notice, is your ability to multitask, which you shouldn't be doing anyway, goes to total pot. It sucks. Okay, your ability to focus on multiple things is dismal when you're fasting, but your ability to focus on one thing is phenomenal. And that's just what the brain is doing. It's prioritizing, it's shuttling glucose and shuttling ketones to whatever portion of the brain you are using at that point in time. However, the caveat to that is whatever area of your brain you're utilizing, it's going to get a heightened response. If you're anxious, it might make you more anxious. If you're depressed, it might make you feel more depressed. If you're focused in a good way, it's going to focus you in a good way. So I hope that helps. Number 8 question was, is there anything, food or drink, that you would recommend I consume during my fast? Very common question. You probably saw me, I was drinking some black tea. Normally, I'm drinking green tea or matcha green tea throughout the day. I start my day usually with some cold brew, some black coffee, some cold brew. It's just smoother, it's less acidic, so I feel like that's a great thing. People ask often about bone broth during a fast. Bone broth does break a fast, so please do not drink it unless you're doing a strategic or specific bone broth fast. I like to consume salt water. Like, I'll just add a little bit of salt to my water. I'm on the fence with specific sweeteners. Usually I keep sweeteners out. Sometimes I'll have some stevia or some monk fruit during my fast, but in my honest opinion, keeping it unsweetened is probably the easiest way to go. Okay. Other things that you can consume, apple cider vinegar, like I talked about. One of the things that I like to do is I'll take apple cider vinegar, I put it in a little bit of water, and I'll put maybe a little bit of lemon juice in there, negligible amount of calories, and make almost like a little, unsweetened lemonade. Those kind of things make a big difference. The pectin in lemon has an effect that allows you to feel a lot more satiated. As far as food to consume during your fast, I would not recommend chewing gum. I would not recommend eating anything that's like a food. Okay, it's going to stop it's going to start the digestive process. And the digestive break is one of the biggest benefits that we're getting during this fast. So please be very careful consuming anything unless you're doing specific fasts that include that. Wow, this is so cool. This is a very successful broadcast. We've got well over 1,000 people. If you guys don't mind, please do hit that thumbs up button. It helps out a lot. That way, later on, people that come through and see this can see that it was a well-liked video, and hopefully they get some benefit out of it. I'm going to take a quick second. Just by the way, this isn't like a typical sponsorship, not trying to get you to buy a product or anything like that. I did want to let you know that ButcherBox, the company that I've done a lot of content with before, they're involved in a charity right now, which is really, really cool. And they've made a pledge to work towards donating what they're calling 1 million meals. So they're looking at donating 1 million meals overall just to help feed America, and to really, just a really cool thing. So there's something, if you want to participate in, I'm going to participate in it. It's really cool. It's called the Share 1 Million Meals. So you literally go to Instagram, and I put it down in the description, Share 1 Million Meals. So that's the title. So follow Share 1 Million Meals, follow ButcherBox. And every time that you eat, and every time you break your fast, snap a picture of your food and hashtag Share 1 Million Meals. So it's all down below in the description. I'm going to participate in it. It's just kind of a fun way, but also it allows me to pop through and see what you're eating, what you're breaking your fast with. But it's also going to spread the word, and it's going to help out ButcherBox and their mission to donate 1 million meals, which I think is just a really cool mission. And I know some of you are annoyed right now because this is a live broadcast, and but come on, I also want to help them out too. So while I've got a big audience here, it's a great way to just, help the world. So help Share 1 Million Meals. Challenge your friends to do the same. Again, Instagram, Share 1 Million Meals, and also follow ButcherBox. And then take a picture of your meals, hashtag Share 1 Million Meals, and go ahead and tag me too on Instagram. That way I can check out your meals. I'm always curious to see what you're doing. Maybe if I get an opportunity, I'll be able to reply and comment what you might want to change with your breakfast meals and give you some love in there. So anyhow, back to the fun stuff. Not that that's not fun. Back to the stuff that you all are here for. Just want to big shout out to ButcherBox because they're just awesome and doing good things. Okay, so the next thing, could fasting slow my metabolism? Okay, tremendous question, and it's something that has to be addressed wholeheartedly. Fasting will slow your metabolism, but is that bad? See, we have this common thought process that a slow metabolism is a bad metabolism. That's not the case. Okay, again, I hate to look back from an evolutionary standpoint all the time, but even just a few hundred years ago, right? Regardless of where you stand from evolution, I'm talking about even just short term, a few hundred years ago. Someone that has a faster metabolism isn't the person that's necessarily going to survive longer. They have the benefit of not storing as much body fat, but are they going to survive longer? If food supply ran out, the person that has a slightly slower metabolism arguably is better off. So I just want you to change your way of looking at metabolism. You don't always want a lightning fast metabolism. It's just that the paradigm has shifted today in today's modern world where we don't have food shortages generally, although we might be experiencing that now with some supply chain issues, right? But not to the degree of what we might experience, half a millennium ago, right? Point is if you fast consistently, your metabolism will slow down. It's just one of the reasons why I'm a fan of like alternate day fasting, fasting every other day, or fasting a few times per week, because your basal metabolic rate will stay elevated, and then you fast, and it's in contrast, it's a small fraction of what your normal caloric intake is. So anyhow, there's a long-winded explanation for that. That's the short one so that I can still rapid fire. Question number 10, should I have any concern about losing muscle when fasting? It would be foolish for me to say no. Okay, you should not go into a fast willy-nilly, not being concerned with losing muscle at all. It's not magic. And it's not like you're going to fast and magically not lose muscle. If you go long enough without eating, you're going to lose muscle. The fasting period itself is strangely muscle sparing. And it does this because your body's producing ketones, and muscle is pretty important to the body, but it's also metabolically expensive. It's hard for the body to maintain a lot of muscle. So yeah, your body is always going to be dancing a fine line between having enough fuel to maintain muscle and then starting to break down muscle. That being said, the body preferentially during a fast wants to burn fat, which is interesting. And it also wants to burn lactate. Okay, it's kind of cool to see, like lactate, which is a byproduct of just exercise and a byproduct of a lot of different things, is the primary driver for what is called gluconeogenesis. Now, quick science lesson without getting too deep into this. Gluconeogenesis is where your body breaks down protein and creates sugar from new sources, creates glucose. It's been thought that your body naturally wants to just break down protein from your muscles and turn it into carbohydrates when you're in a fasted state. But recent science, like 2019 science, shows that lactate is actually the preferred fuel source for the body. So it takes lactate, which is a byproduct of just energy metabolism, byproduct of exercise, and turns that. So that means that it's not, our bodies aren't leaning on muscle as the secondary fuel source. Okay, it's doing what it can to preserve it. And the longer you go into a fast, the more ketone bodies you have, which are very muscle sparing. So should you be concerned about muscle loss? Always. Should you be stressed about muscle loss? No, because it's not nearly as severe as people think. Okay, gospel truth here. Like, okay, no performance enhancers here, nothing like that. Say what you want. I don't care. I'm 180 pounds soaking wet. I'm not giant, but I maintain muscle and I fast a lot. Okay, and I arguably again say that the reason I maintain my muscle is because I know when to train timing wise. I know what to eat after my fast. And I know to train and allocate my meals at a specific time so that I'm getting the maximum effect when I break my fast. So the short answer is, if you're concerned about losing muscle, make sure you are getting enough protein during your eating window, and make sure that you are breaking your fast strategically. And there are dozens of videos that I've done talking about that. And unfortunately, it's too broad for me to be able to give you one solid answer on a video. But if you just search Thomas DeLauer fast breaking, you'll come up with like 10 videos that I've come out with that given different circumstances. One tremendous video I highly recommend you check out of mine, that is the complete guide to building muscle with fasting. That will help you understand how your body spares muscle and how you can actually build muscle by strategically breaking your fast right. But make no mistake, during your actual fasting period, you're not going to be building muscle. That's just molecular, it's physically impossible, but you build muscle after you break your fast by doing it strategically. Man, this is one of the most successful live broadcasts I've done. This is phenomenal. I'm really happy to see this. Guys, if you're getting some benefit out of this, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to share it. Don't forget to share this with your friends and family. Hopefully this answers 20 really big questions for people. Okay, moving on down the line, which is, how should I break my fast? So I'm going to give you two preferred ways to break your fast. But the important thing to note is that this does not mean that this is the end all be all only ways to break your fast, okay? There are multiple ways to do this, and there are multiple different reasons you should do it different ways. Excuse me one second. Okay, first and foremost, lean protein and lean protein only is generally your best bet, okay? There's arguments out there that when you have any carbohydrates after breaking a fast, that it affects lipopolysaccharides and it triggers different inflammatory cascades that could be damaging. I just recorded a video last week. It doesn't go live for a little bit. It talks about carbohydrates after breaking a fast trigger some specific inflammatory responses, which could be detrimental to the effects of the fast, the benefits of the fast that you gained. However, if you have carbs timed right, it can work out. So the point is, let's not get into the weeds there. If possible, whether you are ketogenic or not, just some lean darn protein, some lean sockeye salmon, some lean fish, some lean chicken, something like that, some lean ground beef, like 96% lean ground beef. That is the best way to break your fast without anything else in it. Why? Because from a digestive standpoint, it gets everything going. It restores the nitrogen balance in your body so you start building the muscle again. And you don't have the inflammatory response from the carbohydrates. Plus, you get some benefit of the omega-3s, which can quell inflammation in different ways, quell what's called the NLRP3 inflammasome. So point is, lean protein is always your safest bet. If you're trying to complicate it with other things, that's fine. But when in doubt, just lean protein it out. I just made that up on the spot. I'm so funny. Okay, now the other side of the equation is if you're someone that's trying to build muscle, you're okay to have some carbohydrates, but you don't need much. The trick is keeping it lean protein and lean carbohydrates if you're going that route combined. But the biggest thing to remember is that you're eating a small meal for both groups. Small meal upon breaking a fast. Small meal. Okay, we're talking 4 to 6 ounces of meat. Okay, we're talking 30 to 50 grams of protein, and then 90 minutes later, then eat a regular meal and enjoy yourself a little bit. Okay, that's the most important thing. And I know I talk about that constantly. That's very, very common. A lot of you have heard that before. Okay, question number 12. Should I fast on my off days or work out when I fast? That's such a good question. Should you be working out on your fasting days? I think if fat loss is your goal, you're doing yourself a disservice by not working out on your fasting days. It's your chance to utilize that fuel, utilize that fat as a fuel source. By all means, you're wasting it, right? You have this. We could get, again, into the weeds of what kind of workout you should be doing. And generally speaking, I just think just a moderate scale, not super intense workout of any kind is good. It shouldn't be the day that you go for the gusto. It shouldn't be the day that you go for a PR if you're deep in a fast. I recommend people train in a fasted state, but it doesn't have to be at the end of a fast or the middle of a long fast, okay? Now, on the contrary, fasting on a recovery day also has some benefits too. Okay, fasting on a recovery day when you're not working out allows you to, keep inflammation nice and down. Because remember, when you work out, you're triggering inflammation, and that inflammatory response is actually quite good. Okay, it's the inflammatory response from working out that allows us to recover and build muscle. So if you're fasting during those workout days, well, yeah, you don't get as much recovery. You're not going to recover better from a workout without food, period. You're going to keep inflammation low, but remember, we need inflammation higher. So there's a balance, right? So what I would recommend generally, this is kind of a lame answer, is don't change things because you're fasting one day, or don't change things because you're not fasting. By and large, the best way to go about it is let your life be normal and let fasting be the only variable. Otherwise, you've got, how many variables are you juggling? Come on, guys, you guys are busy. Okay, you've got, oh, there goes Tommy. He's fighting nap. I can hear him. Did I see that? Anyone that has toddlers knows it is exhausting. It is a fight with everything right now. So it's kind of fun. Anyway, I digress. The point is, if you have a lot of variables, it's going to drive you nuts. How many variables can you possibly... Someone says, don't force your kids to nap. No, he's just, come on. He always has his nap. He's just having a fun time and doesn't want to go down for a nap. We don't force him. He gets to choose his nap time ultimately. But anyhow, I don't need parenting advice. Thank you very much. Well, in fact, that really rubbed me the wrong way. Bounce, get out, or I'll block you. Okay. Anyway, you're busy. You have stuff going on in your life. The last thing you need to do is figure out what you need to time with this, and what you need to time with that, and what you need to time with this. Just keep your workouts the same, keep your diet, change it however you need to, but let the fasting be the variable. That way you're not having compounding variables all the time. Okay, next question that came in. If I'm looking to build muscle, should I fast more or less than when I was trying to lose some fat? That's a good question. What you want to do is if you're shifting gears to building muscle, you usually want to try fasting less frequently, but slightly longer. So my fast or muscle building fasting strategy is much more geared towards fasting like 2 days per week, but doing more like 20 or 22-hour fasts, because that way what I'm doing is I'm having more frequency of eating periods to allow me to build muscle, but I'm having less frequent, longer fasts that allow me to aggressively burn fat. Whereas I find if I have frequent fasting, it's great for fat loss and great for maintenance, or semi-frequent. But if I'm trying to build muscle, these longer fasts allow my insulin levels to come baseline lower, which allows me to ultimately build. So the point is, if you're trying to build muscle, try shifting to 2 days per week of longer fasting and work out at the end of your fast if possible. So hopefully that helps. Sorry, I got something in my eye for a second. So awesome. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the support on the nap thing. It's kind of funny. Okay, next one is, I'm ready to start fasting. What's the best way to prepare? All right, perfect. Okay, newbie questions are my favorite to answer because they're helping people. Okay, so if someone is getting prepared to fast, there's a lot of mental things that you can do, but I think going into starting your fast and what you should eat is a very good thing to know. And when you start a fast, I usually recommend being as close to ketogenic going into that fast as possible, even if you're not doing keto. What I mean by that is going into a fast, if you keep your carbohydrates low for a couple meals prior to, say, your first fast, you're going to have less likelihood of blood sugar crashing and causing you all kinds of issues. Seeing a common theme here, the most common thing that people are going to encounter that's going to throw them aloof is going to be the fact that their blood sugar is kind of wonky, right? So if you can get yourself lower carb prior to going into your fast and keep your fats a little bit higher, you'll enter that state where your body's producing and utilizing ketones a little bit quicker in your fast, which is going to make the fasting a lot easier. Okay, so I usually recommend that. Just read some interesting papers on green tea prior to a fast, which was wild because it had an effect on what's called basically lipopolysaccharides, which are inflammatory compounds that leak into the bloodstream from the intestinal tract. Green tea has an effect on the mucosal layer that protects it. It's wild. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but drinking green tea, a good copious amount of it prior to your fast, will prevent some of the gut distress that happens later, both short-term and long-term. So that's a great way to prepare for a fast. The other thing that you want to do is you want to have electrolytes handy. Have your stuff handy because you don't want to be hastily shuffling through and making big mistakes. Get yourself a little checklist. I've done videos that are like the fasting checklist. Okay, so like get yourself a little checklist, and that way you can go through it and you can know that you're doing it right. I've got my electrolytes, or I've got my salt handy. I've got my water handy. I've got my green tea handy. I've got my matcha. I've got my fast breaking meal handy. This is a mistake that I've made so many times, even as a professional and even doing what I do now day in and day out, is not having my fast breaking meal planned. Having that one meal set aside and planned will make all the difference in the world. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. All right, next question is, I want to try doing a longer fast. What should I change? Okay, well, aside from obviously the length of time that you fast, the best thing that you can do to start preparing for that or to really change things really is going to be the one time when you're going to do a longer fast. I would recommend doing that one on a non-workout day. Okay, if you're going to try doing a 24 to a 48-hour fast, then you may want to consider not working out that day. And the reason that I say that is because, yes, although I love the benefit of the workout, it might make it so that it's harder to get through that longer fast. So give yourself a couple of days and let yourself just experiment with that fast. Another thing that you might want to consider doing prior to the longer fast is hyperhydrating with a good amount of sodium. So the reason that I say that is, again, your body is going to expel magnesium, it's going to expel potassium, it's going to expel sodium, and it's going to kind of throw things off. If you sodium load, and I don't mean a ton, but maybe take in 30% more sodium prior to going into a fast, you're going to feel that you're a little bit more stable. So I just recommend that, but you don't need to change a whole lot otherwise. The thing that you do need to be prepared for is, breaking your fast. And the longer the fast, the more I'd be concerned with consuming too many carbohydrates after breaking a fast, but also concern with fat intake. The only fat that I would want you to see coming in after anything longer than a 24, or actually I should say longer than like a 36-hour fast, is going to be fat from olive oil or a small trace amount that might come from some lean meat or lean protein. Okay, more questions coming in. Wow, this is awesome. We still have a lot of people here. You guys are really, really great. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And let's see here. Actually, I've still got a bunch of people here. Hey, don't forget on the share a million meals thing that I was talking about too. If you guys are on Instagram, check it out at share a million meals, and also follow ButcherBox. And again, I talked about this a minute ago, but basically ButcherBox is looking at donating 1 million meals. So it's called the Feed America campaign. So they're really, really looking at doing that. So share 1 million meals, ButcherBox, and also you can follow Feeding America. So obviously during this crazy time, it's been tough, but we're also trying to do whatever we can to put our best foot forward to feed as many people as possible. So what you'll do is just snap pictures of your food, hashtag share 1 million meals. All the details are down below in the description. It's all for a good cause. No one's asking anything of you other than to participate by taking pictures of your meals. So tag me, hashtag share 1 million meals, and that way I can see what you're eating, what you're breaking your fast with. But in the meantime, we can also be pushing everything forward and taking that right step forward in terms of helping out as many people as we can. So big support there from me. Okay, the next one, jumping into the next question. Sorry, I just had to reiterate that for people that hopped on. Should I fast from a certain time, like evening to evening or morning to morning, or should I just focus on the length? For people who really enjoy eating breakfast, what about, yeah, that's a perfect question and very common. I'm a fan of switching it up. Okay, I've learned to not like breakfast as much because I typically would fast and skip breakfast. But then I started learning the benefits of fasting from evening to evening or from afternoon to afternoon. So I highly recommend that people should switch it up, especially if you're someone that works out in the morning. So think about it like this. You're going to get more benefit as far as fat loss is concerned from your workout if you're deeper into a fast. So people often say, well, wait a minute. Well, I can't work out in the afternoon, so I can't work out at the end of my fast. Well, what's stopping you from shifting your eating? Okay. Why can't you fast from breakfast to breakfast or from lunch to breakfast? So what I'll do commonly is I'll eat lunch, then I'll eat dinner, I'll eat lunch, then I won't eat dinner, then I'll go to bed, and I'll wake up kind of hungry because I've been going for 16 hours at that point, 17 hours, and then I'll go work out because I'm working out at the end of a fast. But then guess what? I'm breaking my fast with a post-workout meal. And then I get the double benefit, right? Because then I'm getting extra fat loss during my fast because I'm deeper into a fast, okay? And I'm getting more insulin sensitivity and more potential muscle building effect. That's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of that. So the point is that doesn't need to be your norm, but I recommend shifting it, shuffle it a little bit and have some fun with it because you definitely can fast. And plus we have different circadian rhythms, but we have different diurnal rhythms that occur and different hormonal responses that occur. We have a different set of hormones that are coming up at night versus during the day. You're getting different benefits with fasting. And most of the fasting is looking from like 24-hour periods. They're not really necessarily looking at the time of day in which it starts, but I think there's a lot of science to be unveiled with that. Okay, next question says, I know that I'm about to have a very stressful work-life period. Should I fast during this time or would it be too stressful? It's a tremendous question. It's a double-edged sword because with fasting, you know that it makes your life a lot easier in some ways. Okay, again, you're eliminating variables, you're eliminating stressors because meals, this, shuffling, whatever. So on one hand, it makes your life more seamless, it makes your life easier. But on the other hand, from a metabolic, or should I say adrenaline and kind of catecholamine response and hormone response, it is physically, literally stressing. Okay, so what that implies is that, well, maybe I shouldn't be adding extra stress physiologically or hormonally to my body at this time. So you have to weigh it out. Is today a day where fasting would actually make your life easier and ultimately reduce your net level of stress? Or is it a day where fasting is going to actually make it worse? So you have to look at stress at a net equation. If I'm going to be traveling and I'm stressed, I'm not going to force myself to eat. It's easier for me to not eat and keep stress levels low. if I were to eat, I think I'd be stressing myself out more trying to find a clean place to eat. So I hope that that makes sense there. Now, if you're going to be going through a longer period of life, like people have come to me with, okay, I'm going through a divorce. I know it's going to be hell for 6 months. Should I be fasting in this time? I still think you should, but maybe back it off a little bit, because the last thing you want to do is have a major change in your eating pattern along with hormonal changes, along with these other hormonal changes that are going to, by and large, attribute weight, right? They're going or attributed to weight gain. You just got to be careful with that, things like that. So I definitely would recommend tailoring it a little bit, but you don't have to back off entirely. The one thing that I would say is if you're concerned about getting sick, and during these crazy times and where we're all concerned about this kind of thing too, to some certain degree, you may want to consider reducing the fasting so you're not jeopardizing your immune system. Because there's no denying that fasting does jeopardize your immune system. It does change white blood cell levels. It does have an effect there. The long-term effect, however, of fasting on the immune system is powerful. Anyhow, I digress. Okay, so in question 18, I normally take my supplements in the morning. Should I wait until I finish my fast? Supplements that are okay to take during a fast: magnesium, electrolytes are usually okay. Everything else, take towards the end of a fast, especially if it's a soft gel that is fat soluble, and especially if it's an antioxidant. Okay, so vitamin C, other antioxidants, they blunt the positive effects of a fast. Are there certain people who shouldn't fast? People that have severe adrenal issues should not fast. People that are prone to eating disorders probably should not fast. And I say this because it's easy to develop an eating disorder with fasting. Okay, I've seen it happen many times. I've been close to it myself. Okay, you don't want to develop what's called an orthorexic response, where you're just getting so obsessed with it. Other than that, I think a lot of people can have a benefit from fasting. There's a lot of different medical conditions which you shouldn't fast, too many to list, but they're usually more obscure. They're not the more common ones. Finally, number 20, I enjoy fasting, but how do I get my friends or family on board who I think I would benefit from it? Excuse me. I think the results speak for themselves. People used to think that I was crazy for fasting as much as I did, but I wasn't even fasting all that much. People thought I was crazy because, especially 8, 9, 10 years ago, it wasn't super hugely popular. So the best thing that you can do is lead by example. But I also think by showing them and indoctrinating them into what I call dirty fasting, which, by the way, I have a video coming out on this soon. Clean fasting versus dirty fasting. Dirty fasting, where you allow yourself to have a couple of calories during a fast, you indoctrinate yourself into it, teaches them that, hey, this isn't as hard as they thought. And you also teach a lot of people that, hey, they're already close to fasting anyway. They just might be, just getting rid of the cream in their coffee. I know tons of people that skip breakfast. Okay, but they think it's bad. They perceive it as bad. They don't fully skip breakfast. They have coffee with cream in it, which technically is not fasting. So all they have to do is make one little shift, and the whole metabolism would change so much. So I know it's tough to answer because it's really ambiguous and there's so many different answers, but getting people to get on board with fasting is much easier than you think. I think it's much easier to get someone on board with fasting than it is to get someone on board with keto. Just saying that, just for what it is. Keto, you have to battle lots of fats. You have to battle cholesterol. Fasting is just a time system. You can work with any kind of diet. Okay, I practice fasting with all kinds of things, whether it's keto, whether I'm off keto. I'm not on keto at the moment, and I'm just doing a lot more fasting as a result. Then I'll go back on keto in a couple of weeks. Shuffle it. Point is, intermittent fasting is great for that. Hey, can we get some more thumbs up? I'd love if we could hit 1,000 likes on this live broadcast before I go. We're at 826 right now. So if we can hit that like button, that would be awesome if we can bump it up. This is cool. We've handled all 20 questions. Thank you guys. Everyone's hitting that like button. Handled 20, gotten through the 20 questions. Now I've got a few questions I want to go ahead and answer. Someone did a super chat a while back. I want to answer. It says, I'm struggling with this so much. I've been serious keto for 2 weeks. My appetite is minimal. I have to force myself to eat. I may eat 1,200 calories a day or less. Is that okay? I'm down from 347 to 331. Should you force yourself to eat to get your calories? It's a good question. I never think you should force yourself to eat, but you may want to consider getting some more calorically dense foods in this case. Okay, you may want to consider adding a little bit more in the way of fats just to see if you can get the calories in. But if you're losing weight and you're feeling good, as long as you're not fatigued, I think you just listen to your body. I go through periods where I'm ravenous and periods where I don't want to eat at all. And you just have to listen to your body a little bit there. Think about it once again, evolutionary, okay? Are you going to waste energy to go out and make a kill if you're really not that hungry? Probably not. Okay, some other good questions that have come in. Let's see, someone says, breastfeeding during fasting. Andrea, that's a great question. I would not recommend it, mainly because of the dehydration, but you have to check your own levels and kind of see there. If your milk is kind of turning blue and you're not really getting a lot of fat in it, you might be time to back off a little bit. Does intermittent fasting boost testosterone? It doesn't necessarily boost testosterone, but it does, if you strategically eat the right kind of foods after you break a fast, you can potentially have a better benefit with that. So it's kind of hard to answer. Let's see. Says, who are you breastfeeding from as an adult? I'm not breastfeeding, but I do have a newborn, so I kind of get to see it a lot. Excuse me. Okay, someone says, sorry, other questions are coming in. Is it a good idea to consume ashwagandha cinnamon with my after workout whey shake? Cinnamon, tremendously yes. In fact, I would say cinnamon is actually okay to have towards the end of your fast because it does help reduce cortisol levels and it does help mimic insulin. So therefore it makes it so you're going to have a nicer, smoother blood sugar response when you do eat. So cinnamon a little bit before breaking a fast is great. Scrolling through some other questions here. Bulletproof coffee does break a fast. Yes, still a lot of calories. I'm on the 4th day of a 7-day water fast. Should I work out as normally? Laura, work out just as you feel. Okay, this is where the rating of perceived exertion comes in handy. Don't look at the weights. Don't worry about the weights. Don't worry about the speed in which you're running. Don't worry about your time. Get rid of all data metrics unless that is your goal and focus purely on rating of perceived exertion. Give yourself a RPE scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the maximum, 1 being effortless. Okay, and you should keep yourself right in that 6-7 spot. So relatively speaking, you're deeper in a fast, you might feel more fatigued. You might not be lifting as much. You might not be running as much. You're fast, right? But rating perceived exertion wise, you're putting out the next same amount of effort, which means as far as a hormetic stressor on your body, you're putting the same amount of stress on your body. Okay, so don't push yourself, don't hurt yourself. Let's see. So other great questions here. Bear with me. What about nerve damage that caffeine can inflict on the nervous system? Justin, that nerve damage only really occurs if you're having a ton of it. Okay, so I don't think you're going to run into that situation. Josh says, I tried to hit Thomas level by intermittent fasting and keto. To be honest, I'm just getting skinny to what I used to 6-month intermittent fasting. I just got the keto flu, been doing keto for 2 months. Josh, you may want to just try backing off on the fasting a little bit and just adding a little bit more calories during your eating period. Bulletproof coffee, sorry, hang on. Scroll through. Someone says, what kind of diet do I put my toddler on? I'm okay answering that question. You know, some people are kind of weird about that. He doesn't consume any gluten. Keep it minimal grains. He's not keto. Okay, I don't necessarily feel like, I know that the ketogenic diet has such a powerful hormonal response. I don't know if a toddler is ready for that. Everything in our household is about reducing sugar or eliminating sugar, reducing anything refined, and really going just for whole foods as much as possible. I will say he eats a ton of cottage cheese, like good quality organic, non-carrageenan. Not that I really even care about that as much anymore, but lots of cottage cheese. Kid loves eggs, loves avocado, so he eats a lot of good healthy fats. I would say if anything, he's eating more of a paleo diet, you know, and we kind of let him choose. He doesn't ever choose sugar. That's what's beautiful about it. Anyhow, I don't want to get onto that too much. Is there a way to lose belly fat without losing too much weight? I'm happy with weight. You know, I actually have a video coming out, Carl, just on that here really soon on how to specifically target subcutaneous fat because people, I don't need to lose visceral fat. I don't want to lose weight in general. I just want to lose just fat. So I have a video coming out on that. So I'm going to go ahead and save that for then. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to answer one more question. On alternate day fasting, when do you work out, before or after eating? That's a good question. So alternate day fasting is where I fast for like 20 or 24 hours one day and then eat the full day the next day, alternating, day on, day off, day on, day off. Yeah, and what I'll generally do is invariably work out in my fasted state. So I'll work out in the morning on my fasting day, and then I'll just go the rest of the day fasted. Okay, then I'll work out again before I break my fast. Okay, so it's staying consistent with training in the morning. Again, could expand on that more, but I want to keep it simple. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and sign off of this. Guys, if you can, again, I know it's annoying for some people to hear it, but if you are on Instagram, first of all, follow me if you aren't already, because I do a lot more behind the scenes stuff. I do a lot more daily life. And I know not everyone is on Instagram, but I will say, like, at Thomas DeLauer, I post a lot more of just what I'm eating and things like that. It's a lot more lifestyle oriented, whereas here it's much more educational, much more authoritative, much more coaching style. This is a lot more relaxed. It's more in my life. So if you are on Instagram, I do recommend you check me out over there. But follow Share a Million Meals, follow ButcherBox, and follow Feeding America. And then what I want you to do is take pictures of your meals and hashtag Share a Million Meals, but also tag me in them. I want to see the pictures that you're posting up of your food. People do it all the time. And whenever I get chances, I comment, be like, hey, I would change this, or hey, I would change that, whenever I can, or I have someone from my team do it so I can at least get good feedback out there. But it's a good way to participate because, like I said, ButcherBox is really putting their best foot forward and trying to donate 1 million meals and feed as many people as we possibly can. So anyhow, thank you all for being here. I hope this broadcast was helpful doing it in this more rapid fire explanation format. And yeah, there'll be a new video tomorrow as always, and I will see you all soon.